Hello, leadership community. Good evening, wherever you're listening right now. Good evening to you from Nigeria. We're so excited to be joining you this very evening. It is my pleasure, and I am so excited about this session this evening. Last week was such a very, very fantastic session. We gained so this evening, as expected, I would like to, I will be doing a whole lot of questioning and answering by the coaches here. And I want you to prepare your mind. I want you to, just be open and drop your questions, direct your questions to any of them, and ensure that you invite someone to this broadcast. Before we go ahead, I would like, I popularly call him the chief host of this community, that is Bisi Akande. He will be sharing just briefly before we dive into the session proper. We'll be diving into what to expect, the reason for bringing all of these great speakers together this evening. He will be sharing insight on that. So I am excited to welcome Bisi Akande on the leadership community this evening to share with us just in a few minutes the expectation, that's something you'll be expecting from this session tonight. Bisi Akande, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, AOC. Thank you, leadership community. Thank you especially for always being here every evening, waiting for something to happen. We really appreciate that. I want to also appreciate my friends who are now family for their consistency in standing with us and also urging us on, because we all need encouragement and they have been encouragers in our life. We were just sharing with a young man some time ago, and I said, okay, what would you want us to talk about on the leadership community? And he said, I saw you talk about leadership mindset. So he was talking about leadership, relationship mindset. So my plan or my idea was to just grab Coach Bisi and bring her on board, because when it comes to relationship, I know that she's just fantastic. But she's also a very, very wonderful woman. So she cornered me into the same box I was trying to corner her into. I said, why don't you do something like this? So I just had to go with her. I said, okay, let me talk to SOG. I would have told her to talk to SOG, but I know she wouldn't even agree. So I went there, and of course, some of the things that have happened in recent times, it makes it very apt that we discuss this matter. I was watching TV a couple of days or weeks, and RMD, for those of you who don't know, RMD is a very popular actor who has also gone to be a commissioner in one of the states in Nigeria. He was saying there that the rate of domestic violence has increased. I also saw at one time somebody post something on how she's being abused. Now, before now, if you have an issue with your spouse or with your boss, there's a place to run to. With your spouse, you leave home, you can stay in the bar, stay in the club, and then for some people, you can even stay in the church, spend a long time there so that when you come, they would have gone to bed, and then you also go to bed. But right now, we are locked down. Or rather, the way I like to put it, we are locked in. So even if you have an issue, you have no option but to confront the issue that is before you. And trust me, relationship is critical to life. And that's because people make things happen. If we don't know how to deal with people or how to handle issues that have to do with people at times like this, there is no way we can maximize our potential. We are talking this team stronger together. We all need each other. And look at the way we are here, bonding here and trying to come together to do something that any one of us could have done. Going out of this lockdown, as they call it, one of the things that is going to be critical for many of us is how we are able to manage relationships. And fortunately, everyone that is speaking here today are behavioral analysis trainer. I always say that is a big way of saying that they understand human relations in a deeper level and they can get you to understand your personality. And I think apart from regular knowledge. One of us is also an emotional intelligence expert. And that is another very important skill that people will need after the lockdown, because who knows, some people are already going into depression because they've been in one place for quite a long time that they didn't expect to happen. So we're here today to deal with those relationship matters, and we're going to be dealing with questions. And those of you who are with us live now, you can send in your questions. Some people already sent in their questions, so we'll start with that, but we'll get your question. I will answer as much as we can. My friends, Coach Bisi, Coach Lolade, and Soji-Oyawoye, SOG as we call him, have agreed that we will do more than the normal 30 minutes. So we're here for you 1 hour plus if we can take it that long. So whatever questions we have, we'll do our very best to, and we need to be open here. One of the things that we always project is authenticity. We're not there yet. We're all work in progress, but I'm sure that there are some insights we can share with you here that will help not just your, because a lot of people thought that we are talking marriage today, not just your marital relationship. SOJ is an expert when it comes to entrepreneurship. He's a social entrepreneur. In fact, a day ago, he sent me something that really touched my heart. In fact, I had to open myself to him and say, I made a mistake. Because I sit on the board of a school, and we had a meeting, and we agreed that we're going to we're going to do what everybody wants to do. We're going to slash salaries by half and probably even let some people go, because that's the effect of the lockdown. But he sent me a message and he told this time, he said, well, I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm not here just for money. I am going to make sure that we keep ourselves as long as we can, and I'm not cutting down salary. That broke my heart. That really touched me. And I must say here, how many boosters should I do? Seven boosters for everything. That was very, I know it's very sacrifice. I know it's very, very expensive, but that's a great people. I mean, that's something from the heart for people. So that's why we're here. He's good. Lolade is a family and parenting certified coach from the John Maxwell team. Coach Bisi is an emotional intelligence expert. And if you are looking for fun, just be sure that she's the one that will give you that fun in this room. Yeah, you will find the fun in this room. She has it. So we are ready to go.
Thank you once again, Bisi Akande. I hope you are ready for this dive. You know, I've started receiving a lot of questions already. They are rolling in. They are rolling in one way or the other. But I will pick some of the questions we have received before now. Then I will also ask some of the questions you're dropping right now. Please, as much as possible, kindly send in. Let your questions be as simple as possible so that we can extract them. Then we ask them. So we're ready to go. And one of the questions I received yesterday was directed straight to Coach Bisi. I need to throw this question to her right now. Coach Bisi, the first question is that, what is your definition of a relationship that is healthy? What is your definition of a relationship that is healthy?
Thank you very much, AOC. And before I go into that, can you just please check your internet connection? You are breaking up. I couldn't hear you very well. So check your internet connection. Good evening, everybody on this platform. Good evening, leadership community. I'm pleased to be with you this evening with my husband. We've been married 28 years, so we know a little bit about relationships, and very glad to be here. My definition of a healthy relationship is one where you can bring out the best in each other. You can have healthy fights. You can be yourself without any restrictions. You can be the best version of you individually while being together. However, to have a healthy relationship, it starts with you having a personal relationship with yourself. You must have a healthy self-esteem. You must love yourself. You must love who you are and whose you are. Because if you don't, you can't even love the next person. You see other people as you see yourself. So my definition of a healthy relationship is, first of all, you being the best version of you so that you can bring the best out of the other person. And it stands on a lot of factors: trust, honesty, integrity, equality, kindness, taking responsibility, all of those factors. There's no perfect relationship because nobody is 100% perfect. But there are manageable, harmonious relationships. There's no balanced relationship, but you can have a harmonious relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that clarification about healthy relationship. This question, I would like to have Bisi Akande on this question. And the question goes thus. Is it true that conflicts are inevitable in every relationship? If yes, can they be reduced to the barest minimum, or they are normal part of every relationship? Sorry, Bisi Akande, we can't hear you. Your microphone is currently okay. All right. Please go ahead.
If you heard Coach Bisi well, she said a good point in that place, and so I was smiling when that question was coming. Conflicts. Let me define conflicts first of all. It's a function of personality issues between two persons. It can also be call it disagreement. Now, people don't like disagreement. Some people don't even like to confrontation in any way. But the truth of the matter is, as long as we relate, there will be different opinions. There will be different points of view. So I don't think that there are relationships that won't have conflicts where there is no disagreement. And for crying out loud, I think that sometimes disagreements can also be a good part of learning in relationship. I give you an example, and you allow me to go to my faith. In the Bible, we're told that there's a man called Adam and there's a woman called Eve. And there's a God over them, the grand overall designer, as we call him. He said to the man, this part of the business is not yours. Don't take anything from this business. This is not part of your business. Don't eat this fruit or whatever it is that he told him not to eat. The woman listened to someone else who deceived her and agreed with that person. But she came to the man and he agreed with her. I think that if there was a disagreement that day, it would probably have been better for the human race, as it were. But she agreed. And that's because some people just don't like to say no. But from that story, I came to a conclusion that no can actually be a blessing. So there's nothing wrong with having conflict. What we should actually be doing is finding out how we can manage the crisis, manage the conflicts, so that at the end of the day, we can get a positive result or become better productive by reason of the conflicts that we have. I think conflicts are just a part of relationship generally, whether marital relationship, business relationship, there will be conflict.
All right, so you've heard that conflict is part of the process. So when conflicts arise, do not run from it. Just like failure, we always show up on the way to success. So thank you, Bisi Akande, for that. I move straight to another question. Let me inform every of our viewers right now that this session is being streamed on two platforms. So I'll be bringing questions from other platforms and also the questions we're dropping live. Please do not forget, you can drop your live questions right here, and I can assure you that we'll do justice to it. So this question is going straight to Soji-Oyawoye, SOJ. If we are stronger together, why is there so much mutual suspicion in our relationships? Before you go ahead, sir, I believe the person who sent in this message, who sent in this question, is actually talking probably from the family angle and the business angle, maybe workplace. So I would like you to, balance the two together. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ademola. First, when my wife said we've been married for 28 years, a while ago, she left out the 9 years that we dated before the marriage. So we have actually been together for about 37 years.
Wow.
Now, so first, I'd like to emphasize.
That is because
First, I like to emphasize that we all have different personalities. So when you talk of mutual suspicion, it usually stems from that realization. And we struggle sometimes to accept that fact. We all come from different personalities and are influenced by different family upbringing and backgrounds. And those things actually impact on whether it's a marital relationship or the work relationships. Now to the question of mutual suspicion specifically. It is not usually mutual, and I must admit that. So when you say mutual suspicion, maybe in the workplace, yes, employee may be suspicious of the bosses, their true intentions, they want you to work more and pay less and vice versa. But usually in a family marital relationship, that mutual suspicion is often not mutual, right? Unfortunately, also for the marital relationship, I can say relatively boldly that women are usually the recipients of such suspicion. And I dare say rightfully so. Usually from fear of trusting us due to bad experiences from our past. Generally, trusts do not just break down instantly, whether it's in the work or in the home. It usually starts from something that has happened in the past. So mutual suspicion is a natural expression when somebody is hurt or someone is protecting him or herself from being hurt. But if we want to be happy, whether in the workplace or in our marriages, and have a healthy relationship again, then we have to overcome that mutual suspicion. You can't be happy or have a healthy relationship if we don't overcome mutual suspicion. In some instances too, though, I must add, if your partner constantly or your boss constantly blames you for everything, it could be a sign of low self-esteem. Some bosses, for example, struggle with subordinates that seem to be more ambitious or effective or intelligent than they are, or might even dress better than them, or for no reason whatsoever, there's just suspicion. Same in the home also. Sometimes either partner could just delve into mutual suspicion out of a low self-esteem or low respect for themselves, right? Or some instances also, some people just want to be perfect all the time. That once is not the way of perfection or the way they expect it to be, then they suspect something is wrong. Whereas something may not just be wrong. So we need to be careful about getting into such situations. So how do you get out of situations like that if you're there either as in the office or in the home? Both partners, subordinates, husband, wife, will need to find a conducive time and a conducive space or environment to dig deep to ascertain what really is the root cause that might have brought this suspicion together, and begin to expressing it and discussing it. You know, even wars, when they fight all the wars in the world, it always comes back to sitting down to talk. That's the reality. So no matter how bad the situation is, you just have to talk about it as it is. But make sure the time is right and the atmosphere is conducive for the talk. Then don't go into the talk with the mindset of blame, even if the other party is truly, genuinely faulty, right? Because once you go with attitude of blame, the other party just closes up and goes into a defensive mode, and you can't get anything meaningful out of that. I would also like to caution, if anyone is struggling with those suspicious issues, whether for your boss or your subordinate or their true intention or in a marital relationship, one sure way to act against even your own desire of a healthy relationship is to begin to snoop around. So don't go looking for what may not be there, because snooping does not work. It doesn't work. So you put the other person more on the defensive, and eventually that good that you are trying to achieve is just pushed further away as it is. Because human beings are territorial. We are created that way. We're territorial. So every human being has their space. So you must allow your partners, your bosses and colleagues their space. Right. And unfortunately, the lockdown has locked all of us in the same space. So it's not difficult to understand why homes are having those difficulties, because that space we all had before go to the office, go to the gym, go to the market. 24/7, we're all in the same space now. Right. And when somebody takes away our space, we usually react, and sometimes wrongly. But we can get over this. So for me, we need to just recognize that we are different, and those differences sometimes cause mutual suspicion. And when somebody has gotten it wrong, try and don't go with an attitude of blame, and dig deeper into the root cause and have a discussion on it.
All right. All right. Let me quickly add this. This question, there is a question from one of the viewers right now saying that when couples stay together for long without quarrel or fight, it's because one of them accepted to take on the role of a fool. True or false?
False. I used to think that way also until about 3-4 years ago, when I got certified as a personal behavioral trainer, as it is. All of us on this panel also have those certifications. And I found out scientifically, these are these personalities. I am a steady and dominant personality. So I just take decisions and want to move straight. My wife is an influencer and an IS. So thankfully, we share the S's together. So we're both steady. The beauty of steady people is they can take a lot of pain. They are calm. They are loyal. They are patient. They are, so that thing you are calling fool is not being a fool. It's just the personality trait, right? To stay there, to just make it work. They don't give up easily. They ride through the storm. So thankfully, my wife and I share the S. So that helps us. But her I and my D, they are opposites. Because she is all over the place. She's life of the party. She's speaking to me before the 3-4 years ago. In our 28 years, I also used to think like that one of us had to play the fool. But I found out what was really happening was my wife speaks, and I'm processing it. And she's like, is it not you I'm talking to? You're not. And I'm like, I'm processing it. But she wants an answer immediately. But when we find out this personality traits, we both laugh over it. And now we don't have those issues anymore. She speaks and goes away and waits for me to come back with the answer. So it's just understand.
Can I add to what SOJ just said?
Right.
So I share another perspective. And I want to believe that the person who wrote that question is thinking of a fool in terms of the worldly definition of a fool. If you look at it in terms of the biblical definition of a fool, in 1 Corinthians 4:10, where it says, we're fools for Christ. If you are a fool for Christ, it means you will give up certain things to ensure that you can follow Christ. So you can be a fool in your marriage in that respect. It doesn't make you a worldly fool. Yeah. In fact, when you are a fool in that respect, you are the wise one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a beautiful one. Somebody is asking, let us talk about emotional intelligence. We are coming there. Gradually. I believe there are questions that will actually come up alongside. And also, I believe some people are actually hearing DISC for the first time, and they are wondering what is influencer, what is steady, what is this one. I want to tell you that I will, if there is no question asked in that regard, I will create one so that you can clear all doubt and whatever you want to know about that. So the next question I will ask Coach Lolade. It's a very beautiful question. What is the most important element in your thought that every relationship must have? Like, what is the most important ingredient that every relationship must have?
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, AC, for the question. Really, there's no particular important thing. There are several things that are important that every relationship should have. But in my thoughts, I think purpose is key for me. You must have an understanding of purpose of that relationship. In any relationship you find yourself, purpose must be defined. What kind of relation is this? Why am I in this relationship? What am I here for? And once we're able to define our purpose, then we can begin to ride on and achieve whatever we set out to achieve. If you are in a business relationship and you know the purpose why you're in a relationship, then you work. But when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So until we have an understanding of purpose, and then adding the other factors that is involved. For instance, you want to make a pot of soup. You don't add the same quantity of tomatoes to the same quantity of oil to the same quantity of spice, in as much as every of it is important, but you have quantities of which you must do. And for me, the major part is having an understanding of the purpose, why you are in that relationship. And it will help you have a better understanding of how to go about the relationship and what to do about the relationship.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. I have a critical question here, and I'm thinking, I will have to throw it to Bisi Akande. How do you manage relationship with your 21-year-old son, with whom you are locked in together? I think it's an interesting question, actually. How do you manage relationship with your 21-year-old son, with whom you are locked in together? I would like you to look at it from probably the son is a stubborn one, or the son is maybe introvert or something. So over to you, Mr. Akande. Anyway, one thing is evident. If you talk about 21, you are talking about people that are in a very peculiar relationship, very peculiar age bracket. There are certain things that go with them that don't go with their father's age bracket. Now, I have a son who is 18 going to 19. So I think you should have actually pushed that question to SOJ, because he's a father of two people that are above 21. However, this is it. When we come to relationship, and we've talked about personality a lot here, one of the things that parents needed to know that they have not been able to know, possibly because of the traditions that have carried us over the year, is that even the children have their own personality, the same as we, the adults. We all have our personality. And when you talk about, you were talking about this, you wanted, maybe later on we will have a discussion in that area somewhere along there. But this is it. When somebody is dominant, the person wants to drive. They want to have their way, as it were. They are like natural leaders who just want to be on the driver's seat. Those who are influencers are more like those who really want to play around. They want to have fun. They want things to be more relational than when they are not task kind of people. Now, when a father is probably a strong D, and you have a 21-year-old son who is probably an S, there's a likelihood for them to continue to have clashes if they don't understand their personality. So I think what should happen there, whether he's 21 or he's 19 or he's 18 or he's 10, whatever the case may be, we must understand their personality and then be able to speak from their sweet spots. The way we communicate with young people, especially as parents, is also very important. Many times we come from the attacking points. We just come straight at them. I told you to do this, you didn't do that. But the communication is different. Once you are attacking them, they are also creating their own line of defense. It's a normal thing. If you go to war, because many homes are war zones, technically. Allow me to use that word. A lot of homes are just war zones. When the father is coming, everybody's running out to rearrange themselves. So by the time you come to the sitting room and start throwing the battering rams and throwing your war weapons around, you shoot a bullet here, throw a bomb in the other place. If they can't throw bombs at you because you are the father, what will they do? They will go and look for something to shield them from the bomb that you are throwing. Unfortunately, sometimes when they throw those things at you, it will boomerang. You throw the bomb, they put a shield, and then it boomerangs, and then it hits you, and then you wonder why. And this is very critical, because my heart bleeds when I've heard around me not too long ago, a young man just stabbed his father. And the man actually passed on. That's a double tragedy and this is not something that but it's just like an example. it got that bad, and it's a double tragedy for the home. We don't need to have such a thing. So, critical points. If you are locked in right now, begin to view the personality of that boy. Sometimes parents should also realize that they need to get help. There are people that can help in this dimension. Find out what is the personality of this child, so that knowing his personality, you can work with him along that side. There's a rule that says treat people the way you want to be treated, but there's a higher rule, and that's what I just shared is what we call the golden rule. But the higher rule is the platinum rule. That says treat people the way they want to be treated. Maybe you can't treat me the way you want to be treated, but I'm not you. So why not treat me the way I want to be treated by understanding the way I come from? I think that should be able to give us some insight there. But I think I would want SOJ to say a word in that place, because he's also a father, and fatherhood is a critical matter.
You said it all. Okay. The only addition to that would be something I said earlier. Human beings are territorial. We are territorial. So we have our space and we guard it, whether you are 21 or you are 8 or you are 60. So we need to recognize that in all relationships. Don't enter into people's territory if they have not invited you in, right? And people will allow you in when you build a relationship, like Pastor Bisi has said, a relationship that starts from the side of what is the best way to treat this person, rather than what's the best way I think this person should be treated. It's not about you. It's about the recipient. It's about the recipient. And sadly, a lot of relationships, parental and marital, are ruined because of that failure to respect each other's space.
Please hang that as a frame in your room. Human beings are territorial. I love that. I love that. Thank you, SOJ. I have a question here. Everybody seems to be believing or seems to be agreeing with the fact that the best way to avoid conflict is to be a better version of yourself. I think I also agree with them all. They've been dropping that. If you are just joining us, please drop your questions and we'll pick them from there. I have a question here. It's 2 in 1. I will ask Coach Bisi to do justice to that. The first one is, what is the effect of pride in a relationship? What is the effect of pride in relationship? The second one is that trust does not just break down. No, not that. Sorry, permit me. Just go ahead with that question. What is the effect of pride in a relationship?
Okay. That's a great question. What is the effect of pride in a relationship? My own question is, what is the effect of pride anywhere, whether it's a relationship or anywhere? The effect is that after pride, there'll be a fall.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a relationship or not, pride goes before a fall. I don't know where this person is coming from, but if it is an ego problem, that's another matter. If you are dealing with ego or self-esteem, but simply put, the effect of pride is that there will be a fall. So I don't know whether I've answered that person's question. The person should try and clarify what he wants to hear.
All right. I believe the person can always expatiate further if need be. I have another question. Oh, this question is a little for those who are not married. They might not need to listen to this question. So if you're married, you need to
do that.
Why should they know?
They should really know.
No.
They need to listen to this question. It's so interesting. Somebody said, I don't enjoy having intercourse in my home. My husband seems too boring, and I am shy to tell him. What can I do? I will not ask Bisi Akande. I will not ask SOJ. I will ask Lolade Akande and Coach Bisi. You said what?
Thank you. I thought you were going to stop.
I will ask both. No, they will share the minutes, they will share the time together. So let me quickly come again for clarity. I don't enjoy having intercourse in my home. My husband seems too boring, and I am shy to tell him. What can I do? Please go ahead, Lolade Akande.
Okay, for me, I think except if you were handed over to the man for marriage, I want to believe before you got married, there was what they call courtship. You must have had occasions to interact, to know yourself, and to talk with yourself, talk about your likes and your dislikes, your expectations and everything. So when you come to a crucial moment as that, there's nothing to be shy about. The Bible says, and they were both naked and were not ashamed. There shouldn't be anything of shame in that area of your relationship. And if you feel he's boring, there are several ways you could communicate with him. You could let him know what tickles your fancy in that area of your relationship. You could let him know how you want him to touch you, where you want him to touch you. Maybe he's an aggressive person, that's why you are shy to talk with him. Or maybe you are the one who have issues of communicating how you feel about that aspect of your relationship. But if that is the case, I think you might need to require or to get professional help, or get into counseling with somebody who is an expert in that area. And you both can either talk with that person individually or talk with them as a team.
All right. Before I get the opinion of Coach Bisi, this just came in. I'm just saying it now. Please, panel, you will also make the question together. Please, panel, is it proper to be begging my wife or husband for it? For it? For all
no, I don't think so.
What is it?
Apparently, he's talking about sex in marriage.
Let him say it.
You say what?
It's sex in
All right.
marriage.
I will help the person. So, please, panel, is it proper to be begging my wife and husband probably for sex for almost 2 weeks before being considered?
Well, if you have to,
there are other girls as well.
It only goes to show that that party is not enjoying that act. Because if you enjoy the procedure, if you enjoy sex with your spouse, you look forward to it, you don't beg for it. So we must look at the underlying factor why the person does not want to have that relationship with you. So we need to dig deep and know what the cause is. Because, for instance, my husband is a lover of ice cream. So anytime he does a good job, he expects me to buy him an ice cream. If I don't get him a cup of ice cream, the first thing he says is, did I not deliver well? So if he delivers well, he feels he delivers well, then the thank you for a job well done is a cup of ice cream. So that's just how it is.
What are we talking about?
Are we talking about
as an illustration? If the woman enjoys sex with you, if the man enjoys sex with you, you don't need to ask him. He will come asking for more. But when the party is saying, I don't want it, and you have to beg him or her, then there's something wrong. And it is what is wrong we need to deal with so that we can have a better sex relationship.
All right, let Coach Bisi in quickly.
AOC, please tell me the question again, I beg you. I've forgotten when I'm trying to understand what is it.
Okay, I don't enjoy having intercourse in my home. My husband seems too boring, and I am shy to tell him. Then number 2, please panel, is it proper to be begging my wife and husband for sex for almost 2 weeks before being considered? Whereas there are other girls and boys who are readily available to give it out there.
Okay.
So Coach Bisi.
I'll take the first one. So I see that question in 3 parts. This person says he or she, I don't know whether it's a he or a she, is shy. Did you say beg my husband?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a woman. So if she's
Yes.
shy, my question to this person is, who shy up? How has your shyness helped your government in this matter? Or in any, because if you are shy in this thing, it means you are even shrinking from other things in life because you are a shy person. That's number one. Number two, you are married for Christ's sake. You are married. And just like Sister Lolade said, you are naked before each other. So if you are shy, it means probably you're not even being naked before each other, physically and spiritually and literally and mentally. So maybe you're one of those who will tie wrapper and make sure you are fully decked in your breastplate of righteousness before you enter a room because you don't want your husband to see your nakedness. I don't know. But if you are shy, you are going to have a problem. That's number one. Number two, I don't know how long you've been married, but may I have you know that unless you divorce him, you are stuck with this man. You have entered one chance. So you will have to, if it's boring, again, I don't know his background. I don't know whether he has ever had sex in his life. If it's boring, then you make it interesting because you are the one suffering as it is. This man doesn't seem to even know what's going on with you, and he's okay with that. If you need it, and it's okay if one other person is more highly sexed than another person. It's not a sin. As long as you are doing it within the confines of your marriage, it's not a sin. Anything you want from him, just like Sister Lolade said, you that is even shy, do you even know what you want in this? For you to even use the word intercourse, it's a long time I heard that word though. It's a King James version word. I don't you have sex or you make love with your husband, and there's nothing to be shy about. If you are not enjoying it, tell him what you want, period, end of story. Please include it in part of your goals for 2020, whoever this person is. Make sure that you achieve this goal. Otherwise, I'm sorry, you will live your life in misery. Please. Sex was created by God for pleasure within the confines of marriage.
All right. Thank you, Coach Bisi, for that. These two questions, this question, I will ask both SOJ and Bisi Akande. We are both in this due to COVID-19. People, especially men, who are people who do a whole lot of stuff on the internet, they're in the digital space, they tend to spend more time with their gadgets than their families. That because am I married to a laptop or a phone? Because my wife, our husband, spend more time on phone during this COVID period. What do I do? Bisi Akande.
You throw that question at me so fast. Let me borrow a word from Coach. What did you call it? A weapon of mass destruction. Weapon of mass destruction. Weapon of mass destruction. When I heard that, I said, you know, Coach Bisi has a very, very special understanding of acronyms. So really, when it comes to these gadgets that we have, they are a great blessing. Of course, without these gadgets, we cannot be where we are with you right now. There's no way we can be holding these sessions without a gadget. That's the truth of the matter. Every of these gadgets, they have their values for every one of us. But I think to a large extent, this is one of the areas that we all need to learn discipline a lot, especially during this lockdown. The messages are coming in from Facebook, from WhatsApp, and somebody is doing a live session, live this one, the other one. Everybody is doing everything. And if you sit down there, you will spend a lot of hours in that place. So what then do we do? And I'm not there yet. I'm in the learning process. We must be able to schedule time for these things. When I go to the office, I schedule time really when I look at my emails. That's one I've been able to master. I look at my emails at some particular points in time. But there are some people that are very important to my work, like my boss and some of the people that I work with on a regular basis. I just make sure that I give them VIP status. Because they are VIP status, their meals will always come to me. Now, when it comes to WhatsApp, I also schedule some time for WhatsApp. I go there and do what I want to do. And then when it's time, I leave it, except for some people that are very critical. The other one that I think is much more challenging is Facebook, Instagram. Now, why are you there? I think purpose is very critical. Why are you there? Then, when it comes to the issue of family, I think understanding matters. We must know when to pick up the phone and when to drop the phone. What I think, again, that could be of help is that we can begin to, thank God that, I mean, maybe later we'll have time to talk about this. SOJ is doing a conference or a training for how you can run a business with your spouse or start a business with your spouse. The way I saw that meeting, when I saw him post it to me, the way I saw that meeting was how to actually get your spouse into whatever it is that you love. When the two of you get into the same place, it makes it a lot better. So that there is a room that is allowed, and then you can discuss how do we go about it. But it takes a lot of discipline, I must confess. A lot of discipline.
I think people need to note. I think people need to note something very profound there. That if you bring your wife into what you're doing, then sharing or understanding about it will actually be much more flexible and better. Before Soji-Oyawoye make his own comment about that, I would like to add one extra question to it. And the question is that, how do you relate with a man who just wants to say yes to everything without asking questions for clarification? A man that just wants to say yes to everything and won't even think twice. How do you relate with such a man? So you blend the question, this question, and the other one together. SOJ.
Well, you see, usually we get married to our opposites in almost all instances. Opposites attract. Right. The outgoing falls in love with the person who is homely, the task focus. So we usually, because that's what usually attracts us, is that opposite itself. That is the attraction. But the moment we marry, we spend our life trying to turn that person to be like us, away from that same thing that attracted us in the first place. So all of this is someone spending too much time on the phone or the laptop, or the person always saying yes, all go back again to the personality traits. The only reason why somebody will be spending so much time away from the spouse would be because they're not finding much to do together. That's the only reason. So communication is important, and communication does not come naturally. The truth of the matter with all of us is sometimes we need an external person to help us through. The mistake we make, however, is the fact that somebody is a pastor does not make the person an expert on marital relationships. They are two different things. First, the pastor himself, what has he gone through in his own marriage? You can't teach what you don't know. And you just be applying biblical gospel according to, but the real issues are real. So I think we should learn to look for someone respectable to coach or mentor us. They are life coaches, they are marriage coaches, they are business coaches to help, because these are all communication issues. My wife and I we're still work in progress, but we have grown through things like that. But over time now, we have certain spaces and time that both of us know that once we're in this space, no phones. No phones. So it's an unwritten rule. It may not be long. It may be 10 minutes. It may be 30 minutes in a day. But we have moments that we just shut down the phones. Then I, as an individual, I work with technology. But as a rule, my phone has been set. By 10 p.m., my phone goes to sleep. Even if you call me or text, it won't enter. The phone wakes up at 7 a.m. Most of these phones have those facilities. So you can set it to help you do what you can't do by yourself. but we need to work more on our communications and our relationship with our partners. It's a communication matter. If you enjoy time with each other, no phone will distract you.
Well, can I add to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I also want to look at this from the angle of what is the reason this person is locked into the laptop. Some people are using it as an excuse or an escape. Some are really truly working and doing stuff on it. But some, because they are not used to this lockdown, don't want any wahala, will just lock themselves into this laptop or phone and be dealing with the people they usually deal with on a daily basis. This is the time for couples to be intentional about whatever it is that they want. Be intentional about everything you are doing. This lockdown should make you reorder your priorities. Do you really have a marriage? Or you are just coexisting in a house? Do you want a marriage? I understand that some people have even packed their load ready. Once the lockdown is up, they're gone. What do you want is the question. Because those laptops and phones, they've been there before the lockdown. They're just manifesting now because we're in the same space. So there's a root cause of this phone and everything. Now, if you are both intentional and like my husband said, you communicate. In fact, this one that he has locked his phone to 10 o'clock, because we're in the same space now, we have to review that locking to an earlier time so that we can have more time. Our moderator has disappeared. Okay, so that we can have more time.
Go ahead.
But we have to, what I'm trying to say is we must communicate. If the 10 o'clock is acceptable to both of you within reasonable bounds, okay. The 10 o'clock may not be acceptable to another spouse, but she can't say again because she's either shy or doesn't want wahala. So it's something you need to agree and be intentional about doing.
All right.
Do you want?
Okay.
Okay. AOC.
All right, Coach Bisi. Before I would like us to actually take those questions as fast as possible. They have a whole about to how to deal with I have another question for SOJ. SOJ, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Now we are hearing you. But can you give me a moment to just bring up something quickly? Yeah, from the comments that were made. And I think it's critical. It addresses the questions that were answered. Somebody was two people commented. There's also one of the experts in sexual therapy online who just made a comment, and I think that I needed to bring that out. If a woman or a man has had issues with sex before marriage, they always have room for comparison. That's where sometimes we have problems. When you tell me that my wife, if you say my wife does not satisfy me, compared to what? Because if you buy meat pie in McDonald's and you buy meat pie in Mr. Biggs, if you eat the two of them, the difference are likely to be clear. So you've got to go back to where you're coming from and reset yourself. So I think I don't want to mention. Okay, Blessing. Yeah, I think
an hour gone. An hour is gone.
Then that's true. Then another person said some women and some men, rather not women, some men will, when the woman asks for sex, they will say things like they think that the woman is promiscuous. That's a traditional issue, and I wanted to bring it up because that was how I was set before I got married. I used to think that the woman should not ask for sex, that the man should ask. And I think that is a traditional issue that needs to be broken. Maybe we need to, just a point there before we move on. I think we have done an hour already.
On Blessing Ishomo's comments, please. Let's be careful on that comment. It's not necessarily comparing to any other person. Even virgins that got married, some virgins are not satisfied sexually. God created everybody differently, and you will know when you are satisfied. So it doesn't have to be compared to somebody else. It doesn't have to.
Okay. I will want us to actually run through some of these questions. I have a whole lot of them already. People asking, Mrs. Bisi, please help me. My husband always wants sex every day. In this season of COVID-19, I want to run away from my house, blah, blah. We have a whole lot of them to deal with. I'm telling you, we have a whole lot of issue right here, right now. Some people are sending me inbox messages. I'm trying to extract them out and all. No, so going back to Soji-Oyawoye, I want you to clarify. I have. Maybe I should just put it together in 2 minutes. A man who doesn't know how to say no is always a yes person. Then, as a man who is in a workplace and you've dealt with a whole lot of personalities in several sectors of the economy, how do I manage a boss that is so domineering? How do I manage a boss that is so domineering in the workplace? And also, how do you cope with a man that is always saying yes to everything? SOJ.
Well, first, these questions are all related around personality. Now, if you have the boss subordinate relationship is a slightly different thing, because typically you're in the office you're employed to do certain work. So the boss, unfortunately, is always right in a work setting. So if you have a domineering boss, the approach I usually like to give people who work with such people is to find a conducive time when the boss or the atmosphere is right and ask to have a discussion with that boss. And sometimes the boss may not even know the impact of their relationship in such instances. So you have a discussion with the boss and always use what I call the sandwich method. You know, sandwich, you have the bread, then there's some meat in the middle and another bread. So it starts with a praise, acknowledging and appreciating what the impact the boss is having on your career positively, then express that, however, this is how I feel about this. And perhaps there are things you need to teach me and let me know for me to be able to work smoother under you. Then end with another bread, which is another praise. That's the sandwich method. Then someone who is always saying yes. You see, sometimes we all need feedback. The approach in which you give people feedback is important. If you are giving feedback to anybody, including the person saying yes, in a manner that is derogatory or affects their ego, right? Or there is like a blame, the person will shut up. Nobody listens to anyone who they do not trust or see that has their best interest at heart. So what I would say to anyone in that situation is, look at yourself first. You see, we always assume that the easiest way to change the world or to change a circumstance is to change that circumstance. No. In almost all cases, what you need to do is change yourself, change your approach, change yourself, change your approach. Then that environment, that circumstance eventually changes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Please, we have 30 more minutes to spend on this platform this evening. Somebody's asking clarification on temperament and personality. I believe we are going to end this session with that, how you can take advantage of the Maxwell disc method, how you can become aware of who you truly are. I believe we'll do justice to that before the end of this session. Somebody also is already asking if there will be part 2 of this session. I don't know. I don't know. maybe we answer that, but most likely there might be a part 2. More so, there is something, people are asking questions that are relationship based, marriage based, you know, and they're asking based on their bedroom experience. You know, those questions are a little technical, but for the sake of what we are doing here, I will, you know, share some of them. Many of these questions are directed to Coach Bisi, and I don't know the reason behind that actually. So many of the questions are being directed to Coach Bisi. A lot of people are mentioning a name that, okay, they want her to do justice to that question. Now, what can I do in a situation where my spouse give more than we can afford in the house? Like, what can I do in a situation where my spouse